So this is Tree Commission, May 20th, 2025. We have Breanne Homan, Kippy Laughlin, Morgan Drabick Hampshire, John Parker, Scott Cromer, Commissioner Waddington, Nate Limeister, and I'm Elizabeth. And before you got here, I failed to say, I just finished the minutes. I did put a hard copy, but if we want to skip that, since technically we need Jim here to approve them, since it was you three, so we
Okay.
can skip it till the next meeting.
Okay. All right. So we're skipping the minutes. Let's see. Old business. Tree stats for this month.
I don't have tree stats. I'll just do a quick operations update. Forestry we've got 2 trees left to plant for our spring planting. We planted 44 trees. There was a bunch on East Washington. I think we planted 7 oaks right there. We planted some more oaks over on Central Ave and West Jefferson. We planted bald cypress on Lane Avenue. There was 8 over there. And then everywhere else was kind of 1 or 2 here, there. A couple ginkgos on Erie Boulevard, and trying to think of where else. That's all I can think of right now. And once we plant the last 2, we're going to go into removals, doing some limb ups for like stop signs and street clearance, sidewalk clearance, and probably do a stump grinding here next week. We'll be starting. So that's where we're at.
Sounds good. Does anybody have any comments on our Arbor Day program at the library? Had a lot of dignitaries. It's like, okay,
My kid was there.
we had 1 kid and big wigs, so
It went
Which is
really
nice.
well, yeah, like
Which
I
was
thought it was
nice.
a little different.
we don't get them that often, so it was
Yeah.
nice. I thought it went okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Like changes
I
every
like-
year now, so.
Yeah.
I thought it went well. Does anybody else have any comments?
I agree, I like the poem.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, and I liked, your talk was more directed towards adults, so it was a little different, so I thought it went really nice. Nate
Good.
and his crew always does a really good job with the tree demonstration.
Yep. Okay. Any, next year will be a whole different, who knows
Yeah,
where we'll be. so.
yeah.
Okay, new business. The penalty section of the tree ordinance. I believe we have a copy of that right here.
Yes, everyone has a copy of this if you want to take a minute to just look over it if you haven't already.
And I want to point out it's different than the draft that I sent on Friday because law did have time to review it on Monday, and they want us to just focus on changing the fee amount versus changing the language.
Okay. So this is just starting now, or is it,
So-
it's in place?
Well, this is in place right now.
Yeah, okay.
We're proposing to adjust the amount because, as you guys probably know, $100 does not cover anything. It doesn't even cover Nate going out and inspecting if there is damage to a tree or whatever that happened. So, law advises us that to move the dollar amount, we don't feel like it's probably enough, but we'd like to start at $1,000 up to $1,000. It doesn't mean every violation will be $1,000. It means, depending on what the violation is or what the damage is to the tree, it could be up to $1,000. So if we have a newly planted tree and somebody vandalizes it and breaks it in half and we have them on, whether it's a police report or somebody turns them in and we have evidence of that, we'd like to charge them for the replacement of the tree.
Okay.
$100 does not even come close to a fraction of replacement of a tree now, so.
What is the average cost of a tree? Like,
I think the minimum would be probably around $300 to $400 for a tree. That does not include the planting of the tree or the removing of the broken stump, the tree stub and the stump, the burlap balled, or if it was newly planted. So it's literally just the tree. So when we go out, if Nate has to do that and remove the stump, you got a couple guys, 2 or 3 guys, a stumper, a truck, the Avant, and then you have that all putting it back in. So you're talking probably about 3 hours to do all that, probably 2 or 3 guys. So it's going to exceed 1,000, but I think 2,000 is a good starting point of trying to recoup some money, and really is to help deter, because we have had in recent, in the last year or two, where people have damaged our trees, and they are familiar with this ordinance, and they do say, well, it's only $100, I'll pay $100. So,
And this is a case-by-case thing, so up to 1,000 could mean they're paying 100 or they're paying
It-
500 or whatever.
yes. So, but we have had several people be like, it's $100, I'll just pay it, So we don't want them to just go hack on a tree or cut it or improperly prune it or damage a newly planted tree because they don't want leaves in their yard. We want to actually be able to prevent that. And I think by increasing it, at least it'll give a little bit more teeth in it, and hopefully they'll prevent them from just doing what they want.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, 1,000 will get their
right,
attention.
right. And right now, we're coming to you guys because when you read this, it's definitely on your recommendation. So we would like, the support of you guys in raising that to 1,000,
So the only.
up to 1,000.
I don't mind on the $1,000 thing, I think it makes sense, but in addition, the person shall replace the tree. Are we letting them do that? Because I thought that was like a
No.
whole nother, so I feel like that needs to be revised as well.
And we can
So-
adjust the wording. It would obviously go through our law department, so Stuart Hastings, our law director, so he'd have to approve that. But yes, we can suggest that. We don't allow them to, but depending on Nate's, workload, we may contract somebody to do it.
So my question
So-
is the $1,000 only cover the removal to get it ready for planting? And then is there an additional cost for the planting? Because if this reads right now that the landowner could plant a new tree if it's approved. But my assumption is that the city would be replacing the boulevard tree. And so
And
does the
I-
$1,000 cover all the way from removal to replant, or?
Honestly, Bree, I'm no lawyer, So when it says the
I've been
person shall replace
spending a lot of time
it.
today with our
they could-
prosecutor talking about
Yeah, and they
documents.
might, Stu might interpret the person shall replace it, meaning they shall pay the fine to replace it, not them actually replacing it. I don't know. We can ask that question.
Yeah, well, and I guess that's my question though, is that, does the $1,000, I would almost, I don't know, I guess, I like the fact that you're like, want to ask the tree commission for recommendations and stuff like that, but I just don't know that it needs to be in the penalty. You could still come to us and we're happy to do that, but I just really feel like it just needs to be the fee, and if you want to state that the fee covers X, Y, and Z, then that's fine.
Okay.
Or if you want to say, the removal and prep, whatever, up to $1,000, and then an additional cost for the planting of the tree or something. That way it kind of
Okay.
gives you, you know what I mean? Because there's going to be a difference if you're contracting it out versus in-house,
Right,
and that could be
right.
a big thing too.
And in all honesty, it could be when you put it in and you kind of decipher each step of the replanting process, like removal of the stump and, Nate going out and site, picking out the correct tree for that site and all that, it could be well up in the 2,000. So,
Right.
we can go that, but I don't know that, I think that's up to you guys, I guess, is what it is.
Yeah.
I thought 1,000 was a good starting point compared to 100, but if you guys feel like it should be more, I'm not against that.
So if they do the 1,000, then the person shall replace the tree on top of the 1,000.
That's the way it reads, like
Is
they
that
get
right?
up to
We're reading
$1,000
this?
fine, plus they have to pay for the.
This is what it's always been. and we've used that $100. We could definitely ask Stu his recommendation on if we need to tweak the wording on it. I
Yeah.
can't tell you, I can't sit here and tell you that it needs to be this or that. I can
Yeah.
ask him and.
Well, I just remember us going through all the ordinances in the past about the processes. If somebody wants to plant their own tree, they have to get approvals and all that other kind of
Right.
stuff. And so this makes it kind of read like,
And they still do,
They-
they still do have to get approval from us that they're using a certified arborist, like planting, like company, and that we give them the specs at what's gotta be planted. Nate still goes out and specifies what species allowed to be planted in that location, so that still happens.
yeah.
Just so you know.
I guess my point is I would just take the line out entirely. It
Okay.
should just be about the penalty
Okay.
assessment
Okay.
instead of like, unless we're truly saying the penalty is also you have to plant a tree.
Gotcha, okay,
You know?
yeah, and we can push that to Stu.
And I still think the 1,000, like you said, is a good starting point. It might not cover everything, but maybe as this goes on, it might be enough of a deterrent that this never gets sparked. And if it does, then you can do an assessment of how much does it truly cost versus how much is getting assessed penalty-wise.
Okay.
In the worst-case scenario, have you guys ever applied the $100 fine and then made them pay for the tree too? So it would be $450 fine.
We've applied the planting of the tree. We have said, like, you need to replace a tree in lieu of, I think, the $100. And I believe that may have happened once. But it is, I'm not going to deny, like, it is pretty vague. So it can be interpreted a different way. So we can definitely ask our
And
law
then,
department how
I
to.
would say, and then in other situations, it really depends on the resident and how receptive they are to us. Sometimes they made a mistake and they want to fix it. Other times, we can only bill the $100.
And
we
to
can't
be
get
clear, I
there.
mean, some may hire, say, a local contractor that is licensed in the city and trims it, and we find out like later that they did it, and it's like, at least they used a licensed contractor, they had it professionally trimmed, so like, we're not gonna be sticklers on, well, you didn't get the okay, you know what I mean? But
Right.
we don't want just anybody out there doing it, I
Right,
guess
yeah.
is our
Well,
thought.
And I think the other thing too is like, somebody can appeal the assessment, you know, so
Yeah.
whenever you're saying up to this, it means, okay, so how is that assessment made? And so
Right.
you may have to kind of prove, well, here's how much it
Right.
costs for this
Right.
and that and whatever, so. I'd say keep it as simple as possible, here's the assessment up to this much, and if you need to add a little bit clarification, you can
Okay.
put in the stuff in there about, you know, to cover cost of removal,
Okay.
inspection, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, you know.
Or per separate violation. If they have multiple violations, $1,000 might not even scratch the surface of that. They cut down 3 trees, you know?
Okay.
So this is a work in progress.
It is, I mean, we came to you with more of the amount, not the wording, just because of his recommendation of the amount. So
Okay.
we had different wording, but he kind of pushed us to go with just the amount. So we can circle back and do that.
Okay.
And to your point, Kibbe, it does read in this one, it says each tree affected by. So I think it does, if there's multiple trees and you have 3 trees, each tree, and the way this reads right now, is there's a fine of $100
Separate violation.
on top of the planting of the
So it'd be
tree.
$1,000 for each tree, potentially.
$1,000 per
Or-
violation.
Maybe one
If
is
this
more-
wording stays the same,
Got it.
yes. If it stays the same.
They're not all lumped into one, it's per tree.
Yes, the way this reads right now,
Okay.
yes.
I see.
Okay.
The draft that you sent on Friday, it also talked about the city manager, but we didn't talk about that with
So,
this current wording.
yeah,
but-
our intent, based on other policies and procedures we have for other departments, was to make it say like a fine as determined by the city manager, because that would be like, that would give us, like, there wouldn't be a timeline on the market price of trees and labor, but the law department asked that we keep it at a set amount,
Okay.
even if we have to go back every 5 years and reexamine whether that amount should be changed.
Okay, so that's different then. So is it a set amount or is it up to an amount?
Well, it's do not exceed, but what I sent on Friday, we had actually taken out the $100 and said an amount determined by the city manager.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so that we could be flexible.
Yeah,
But
okay.
we're not doing that. We're setting a
not
cap. of
Cap, I got it.
1,000.
Yes. Yeah. And to John's point, yes, we will have to take this to commission for permission, so we wanted to
Yeah.
make sure we had your support. We aren't going to do that right away, just because we don't, we have to need time to prepare, but we knew we'd just be meeting you for the last time until the fall.
And
So-
it's been this way for a while, so it's okay that we take our time and get it dialed in the right way. So it's not nothing that we have to do today, so. But we do want to move on it because it seems like we've had a increase in some of these people that maybe aren't happy with the tree or, so.
Okay.
So they can
And,
vary.
and to the fact that I know we talked about before, like, we don't plant trees if someone doesn't want a tree. Like, we're trying to work with the residents and give the people that want one a tree. So if one is vandalized and it's newly planted, it's not because we didn't do our due diligence and find out if they wanted it or not. So maybe the house was sold, maybe something, something happened, but we do reach out prior with door tags, and Nate does speak to them, and we wait 2 or 3 weeks for a response back before we actually oops it out and plant it, so. Yeah,
So right now, if somebody digs up a tree and says, I don't want this tree, that's all we can find them is $100?
yep.
So can we make a motion here to change this up to 1,000, or is that?
You can, but I would prefer waiting and doing some of what you guys suggested on the wording, and then put in the $1,000 and let law department go through it, and then bring it back to you when it's a final from them and us, and hopefully it meets your, minimum standards, and then you guys can vote on it then.
That makes sense. Then your timeline, our next meeting's not till October. So is that okay on your?
Ideally, we would get their support today.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I'm thinking. Like,
Okay.
If it's just the dollar amount that we're going to need to be in support of, and we've
Yeah.
kind of already provided our extra thoughts
Okay.
on
Yeah.
language, then I
That's fine.
feel like we could do that now, and not hold up the process.
Okay. If you're good with it, we're good with it. But yes, the amount would be $1,000 unless you guys think it needs to be more. I don't,
I think it's a pretty significant increase. And
Okay.
it's going to be a shock to people's
So do I.
system when they
Yeah.
see this. So I think unless we had full data on like, here's the total cost or the
Right,
average
right.
cost, I say let's just start at 1,000 and then,
I agree.
maybe every other year or every year we review this and we see. The hope is that this is just the deterrent and then those things go
that's,
down.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But if fines do get assessed, then let's look at,
We're not
cost of fine
looking-
versus cost of
We're
dealing
not
with the
looking to,
issue.
find anybody or make money. That's not the purpose here. It's just to protect our trees that we have.
Right.
And that the time that we put into them to get them to grow. So,
So I make a motion to increase the wording of the penalty to up to $1,000 in this document.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is carried.
And I will send whatever the law department finalizes before it goes to commission, just so you're aware.
Okay. All right, let's see. Touch a Truck is our next event on August 5th.
Yes.
We're setting up like table as
Yep.
2 years ago, right?
Yes. Hopefully the weather holds up.
Hopefully, yeah, the weather this year.
Yeah. But yeah, I will follow up with more information. I put 5 PM because I think that's accurate, but they don't actually have the specific event information or the map of like where we'll be staged set yet.
Okay. Any other new business? No?
Congratulations on going to, what are you guys, sophomores now? Juniors?
Yeah.
Sophomores?
Sophomore graduates, yeah. I passed. I learned a lot. I really have.
I really did learn a lot.
Are they gonna finish the rest of them?
Yeah, right here in Sandusky.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah, so you can graduate
Well, I
now.
already did my freshman and sophomore, I haven't done my junior, senior.
Oh,
Sign her
nice. Well,
up.
look at you.
Free
It's
lunch.
September 10th and 17th. It's like 2 Wednesdays.
September 10th and 17th?
2 Wednesdays, just one day a week.
Can you email me that? I
yeah.
think that's, I can't remember if September, is that a Wednesday?
They're both
Okay,
Wednesdays,
one of them's
like
the day
back
after
to
our
back.
annual banquet.
Okay. The teacher's a real stickler.
I already went to the first two, that's why I wasn't gonna go to them again.
Stephanie is she's
Yeah. She's still there.
she's still there.
She's still there.
Yeah, we had,
Same catering,
But like Kippy said, we learn a lot.
same catering.
We utilized a different caterer this time. Yeah, but we'll
Science-based,
reach out
it's
to
like-
both
No,
again
it's good.
for
I still
September.
have my binder
Yeah.
from it.
doing it out at the service.
We did it at the pavilion, but we haven't decided whether to do it
Oh,
at the
that's right.
service center this next time. It wasn't available. The pavilion's a nicer setting and
Yeah.
it draws people downtown, but the sound is a little
Echo.
off. It's echoey. Yeah. I've contemplated whether to make the teacher wear a headset.
Okay.
What are all the new trees out on Columbus Ave now? I saw, there's honey locust, red maple.
Are you happy?
Tell the truth.
You guys aren't gonna have to walk, right?
You're still on our camera.
We're still
Pear trees down there?
They're trees, so we're happy. There's trees down there, so we're happy,
okay.
right?
Absolutely.
They didn't want all blacktop and pavers and concrete, so.
They didn't end up doing any of those golden rain trees, did they?
No.
Good.
What is that one?
It's invasive in a lot of different states and it was on the original list.
Sounds so cool.
That's what Sue was telling us.
No, those are invasive,
But
Unless they got a-
They don't have an irrigation system,
Yeah.
they're just gonna be watered whenever.
No,
I don't think.
So will you guys be in charge?
One time right on the, by Gallagher's office.
Will you guys be in charge of running the irrigation system, or is it all gonna be
No.
on timers and?
that'll be your parks and parks department that do all the plantings and all the bushes and flowers. Yeah, we won't be involved in that.
It'll be nice to see it once it's not, like, once the construction has moved away,
It's
like
a
in
big difference.
totality, yeah.
Anything else?
Thanks to Dave.
What's that?
Thanks to you.
What?
You okayed all of it.
Oh,
Commissioner. Commissioner.
May I please have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, beat you again.
All right,
Seconds.
I said.
meeting has ended. Go in peace.